I'm John Rawl, and this is the show where we cover the South. We cover Music Row in Nashville, Tennessee. Hello, welcome back into y'all, and we're going to go to Music Row in Nashville in a moment to be joined by Preshias Harris. And when we bring Preshias on, I'm going to go ahead and give y'all what's called a tease in the biz. We're going to be talking about a lot of different country music artists, but one guy that we're going to talk about is this guy right there, Luke Combs. He's back in the news, and we'll tell you why. So make sure you stick around for Luke Combs, the latest going on with him. And it's good news if you're a Luke Combs fan. We'll have that in just a moment. But we bring on from Music Row in Nashville, Tennessee, our own Preshias Harris. And Preshias is with the Nashville Music Line. You can make sure to go to that website and learn more about her. collegeofsongology.com is also how you can find Preshias Harris. She's the author of I Know Country. That's got 366 daily country music questions that you can have a whole lot of fun trying to answer those questions and more. And Preshias Harris is on with us right now on the show that's called Y'all. Hello, Preshias.
Hello, how are you today?
You've got a lot of things we have to kind of announce each week when you come on here.
And I think maybe because it's the month of awards and nominations, because we got the ACM Awards.
Mm-hmm.
Here, some of the, like I know they're going to be filming some things from the Bluebird. It's going to be a lot of, it's actually all, I guess the Zoom type feed is what they're doing. We're doing it from the Ryman and from the Bluebird and a couple other venues around town. And then they made the announcement of the CMA Awards. So we've got that. We got Americana Fest. So even though things are not where people are touching each other, the show must go on. So everything is just gone, viral or virtual, whatever they call that word. That's different. But it's virtual. Yeah, that's the word.
It's virtual. Even our conversation with you right now, Preshias. That's okay.
I know.
That's okay. Well, we just love you. We just love you to pieces. Hey, you know what? A lot of people love Luke Combs to pieces. Let's talk about Luke. He's just had his 9th number one. That's 9 out of 9 on songs that he's put out to country music radio. And this latest one is atop the chart.
Yes. Now, Luke, like I said, Luke
Don't tell me you remember him when he was just a little baby. I know that's where you're probably going.
No, but I do remember him playing with a guy here in town that turned out to be the guy who had 6 or 7 cuts on his first record. But, Luke got nominated for, he not led the nominations, for the CMA Awards. So that's one of the reasons why that he's in the, he's got like Entertainer of the Year, Album, Song, Male Vocalist, and Single of the Year for A Beer Never Broke My Heart. So that's really unusual. And the awards, they're going to be broadcast. They got a date, November the 11th. At the press time last week, they did not have one, so I'm glad. At 7 o'clock Central. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Loving on You, though, is the latest number one from Luke Combs.
Yes. And I'm talking flying up the charts on CDX and the other one. So that's probably going to be his 10th number one.
Oh, it's already number one. It's his 9th. And I'm sure he's got another one already out.
Okay.
Yeah, Loving on You.
Yeah.
I know it gets confusing. Anything he touches goes to number one, so I understand a little bit of the confusion.
Well, see, getting the press release, because his publicist, I get everything that comes out, and he's had so much going on this month. Getting married, touring, nominations for this, ACM Awards nominations, CMA nominations. So it's just been a busy 7 days for him. So I will tell you, some of the things are running like this, but at least he's living the dream.
Living the dream, and we're living the dream here on the show that covers the South, talking to Preshias Harris. And if you have a question or comment related to country music, we'd love to hear from you here on Y'all. Just drop us right now if you're on Facebook Live, question or comment about the music business. Again, Preshias is a music career development consultant. She can help you or someone you know if you have an interest in trying to make it in Nashville, Tennessee. And boy, does she know her stuff, and she'll be happy to talk to you and possibly bring you on as someone under her wing. And we're continuing our discussion about Music Row with Preshias right now. And Preshias, Brothers Osborne, that's a group that's had some great music in the last few years, and they're going to perform a live stream concert. This is a free concert. Can you tell me a little bit more about this?
Hang on just a second.
Okay.
Did, there we go. For some odd reason, when I moved, I done something in it actually. Anyway, but it came across as being you blocked you. I couldn't see it. Uh, they have got together and they have put together a bunch of different country artists to live stream to help raise money and awareness for certain things that the live music scene needs here. They're also nominated for a CMA award for Duet of the Year. So, and I love those guys. One of them, I'm not going to say which one, has a bit of a potty mouth. Number one party. But his brother apologized. He said, "I am so sorry. My brother has a potty mouth." And so I thought that was sort of cute because, apparently even though they don't look anything alike and they're not twins or anything, but one's like a business personality and very cool and calm and collective on the stage. The other brother is like, hold up the red solo cup and thank you for the number one song. So it was you can see their different personalities, but they're just a really, really fun duo. But yeah, I've been watching them for about, well, I think they're with ASCAP, one of them is, but they have been in town for a while. So, and they've got their tours, like I said, they have opened up for everybody. They've got songs. I forgot who they just, one of them is, it's got a cut on, it's not Luke Bryan's album, but it's one of the up and coming male artists on that. So, yeah, that's the boys.
Brothers Osborne. Precious, how are you with your potty mouth? You got a good one or a bad one?
No, not lately. I've been trying to not drive during traffic.
Good philosophy there. How about this artist? I'm not familiar with this name, Lauren Akins. Any relation to Red Akins? What's going on with Lauren Akins?
She's not an artist, but she is actually an author now. I'm sorry, going back to switch things. Thomas Rhett's wife. They were actually sweethearts in high school. Lauren has written a book about her relationship and about balancing 3 kids and everything she's doing, and they're very much dedicated Christians. And like I said, they're of course they adopted one of the little girls they have. The first one adopted was from Zimbabwe, I think, and then the other 2, like other natural kids. But they are very much hands-on parents, and she is written about a book to encourage other mothers about how to balance things. And then she's also got a new line of handbags that she's come together with a company to help mothers who are working the way she works to actually have an easy access to like a diaper bag and a purse all together. And it's very friendly. It's not too heavy, but yet it's very sturdy to carry stuff. So she's got a bunch of stuff going on. And if you Google Laura, Akin, you can see, Akins.
Google her and see what happens there. We'll make sure to do that here on Y'all. Preshias Harris.
But yeah, she's very much a hands-on mother, and if you see them together, you're going to know that her and Thomas was meant to be together forever.
That's kind of like you and I, except maybe not romantically. We're talking with Preshias Harris here. This is the Y'all Show with everything going on in Nashville, Tennessee. And Preshias, I wanted to get your take on some other news that's come out here in the last couple of days. I noticed, I don't see it in front of me, something has recently come out with the killer, Jerry Lee Lewis. What do you know about that?
Well, he's actually been one of the 5 legends that was inducted into the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience, the MAX Hall of Fame. But I thought he was already a member of the Hall of Fame for Mississippi, because that's where he come from. But I'm real surprised that he wasn't already there. So unless this is just a new extension of the actual Mississippi Museum, music museum. Mm-hmm. But anyway, his sister Linda Gale Lewis was his dad. Jerry Lee has a son, Jerry Lee Lewis Jr. And anyway, he was there to accept on behalf of his father. The only thing that makes me worried is that they said he was going to try to get back to touring about 4 or 5 months ago because he had just a slight stroke, and it was good. This is right before the COVID hit, and So, and for him to not be any public appearances, it could be just for safety reasons. They didn't have him out there. But I'm praying that it's for that reason only, and that something has happened since then. But anyway, the Mississippi Hall of Fame induction is actually Bo Diddley, Margaret Walker, the songwriter, Jerry Lee Lewis, Tammy Wynette, and John Lee Hooker. So, and a lot of them have an impact on the arts and entertainment. I just can't believe that these people are not there already. So I'm assuming that this is a different level of the actual Mississippi Hall of Fame. They've also claimed, that they're trying to raise the awareness. And Marty Stewart, who has moved to Mississippi several years ago, he has a huge museum that he's putting together of his personal collection. And it's not, I want to say Pearl, Mississippi, where the band Pearl River came from.
Philadelphia.
I knew it was a P. No, it was a P.
It wasn't, and it wasn't Pascagoula. It was Philadelphia.
It was Philadelphia. I actually had a former client from Philadelphia. There's a couple of them. I think Hardy's, the songwriter, the big hit writer now that's fixing to go boom this coming up year with his music as a songwriter. He also co-wrote God's Country for Blake, but he's from Philadelphia, Mississippi. But
before you move on, you better talk about maybe Philadelphia, Mississippi's, other than Marty Stewart, other greatest country music singer, songwriter type person. A guy that wrote a song called Indian Outlaw.
Oh yeah, McGraw. No, Tommy Barnes from Outlaw, so it's got to be Simmons, because Tommy Barnes said he's from Boaz, Alabama. Tim's from Louisiana, and he didn't write the song. So who are you talking about?
The guy that used to have the song, he had a business card, and he gave it to me one time on Music Row, and it's Tommy Barnes.
Well, I didn't know he was from Mississippi. He always claimed he was from Boaz, Alabama.
I'm pretty sure he's from Philadelphia, Mississippi. He had a business card, and he had his name, Tommy Barnes, on it. And he gave it to me back in the 90s. And it is his title. Do you know what his title was on that business card?
I'm afraid to ask.
It wasn't songwriter, although he was a hit songwriter back in the 90s.
Yeah, a couple of different. He also wrote a huge hit for Little Texas too.
His title, Precious, and I got to give Tommy a big shout out here. He was listed as his profession an audio and verbal structural engineer.
That's actually pretty clever, but I can see him doing that.
Also known as a songwriter.
All right, yeah. But he actually did a stint in the Army, which is where he met his wife.
Okay.
And I want to say that she's from Korea, I think. But anyway, he may have left Philadelphia and went from there and then came back and settled in Alabama.
Could have. You know, it's not far. In fact, Philadelphia is in Neshoba County. That's a county or maybe two counties away from the Alabama line. So.
Oh, he probably is.
We're talking the Twin States here. It's essentially the same area.
Except for Mississippi's got more cuts.
Precious. We're going to take your Southern card away if you don't know how to pronounce kudzu, for goodness sakes.
That's it. That's the word.
You go back to your bluegrass and leave the kudzu to the rest of the South.
I know. I'm working on it.
All right. Sorry. So Jerry Lee Lewis, by the way, it was early in 2020, right when the year began, there in Nesbit, Mississippi. The governor at that time, Phil Bryant, he showed up there in Nesbit, home of killer Jerry Lee Lewis, to give him the honor of the latest trail marker on the Mississippi Country Music Trail. They have a trail with signs all over Mississippi for country music. They also have a very successful blues highway trail.
Oh, yes.
And now the country music one's got Jerry Lee Lewis, and Jerry Lee was there at his house in Nesbit, and they honored him, had a whole bunch of people there. And there's a great YouTube video, if you have a chance to see it, with Jerry Lee in his very unique and fun way, right here in 2020, having a good time being honored. It was really neat to see.
Well, I've met him very briefly at an event here in Nashville. But I do have a story I have to tell you, but I can't tell you.
You tell me.
When because he was sort of taken advantage of early in his career, but a friend of mine was at the time was managing him, and he did a gig, and so he asked for it to be in cash, no checks. So he gives him $10,000 in cash. Jerry Lee puts it in a pillowcase and he ties it up and he holds it in the back of the limousine for the 7-hour ride all the way back to Nashville. Promise. And somebody said, "You mean to hold that?" He said, "You touch this and I'll break your arm." So, I mean, I know they make Killer's got lots of stories. We all know that.
Yeah.
But I really do. He is a character. And a lot of artists who are stars, either different levels of stardom and celebrityness, you always knew where you stood with Jerry. You know, if you didn't like you, knew that. If he liked you, you knew that too. But I thought that was such a great story because I can see him doing that.
Let me make sure to not make the folks in the Great Pelican State upset. Jerry Lee Lewis has that Louisiana connection too. In fact, I think technically he was born in Louisiana, just across the Mississippi River from Natchez, and then spent a lot of his time in Natchez there in Adams County. If I may have that wrong, it gets a little confusing, especially when you factor in his cousin Mickey Gilley also kind of did the same crisscrossing the bridge there between Louisiana and Mississippi. And Faraday, Louisiana, I think is Jerry Lee's hometown. So we don't want to slight them, but he spent most of the last couple of decades living in Nesbitt, which is just south of Memphis, and has a nice little estate there in DeSoto County. So I want to point that out, but also I think it's very important to remind a lot of people who may not be familiar with Jerry Lee Lewis's career that although he was certainly one of the founders of rock and roll in the 1950s, he had some fantastic country music songs in the 1970s and 80s, and he had big hits like what made Milwaukee famous and the other great songs that he had out there. Jerry Lee Lewis, don't underestimate him as a country music and purely country music star back in those early 80s.
Well, Jerry Lee, he was part of that $1 Million Quartet, which I don't have the picture here because it's at my house. But it was Johnny Cash, Elvis, Jerry Lee, Carl Perkins. And I was at a birthday party one time, and there was something called, he's actually right there, Cowboy Jack's 10 Commandments of Songwriting, right back there on the wall.
Look, let me zoom in on that, Precious. Hold on a second. We don't often have our...
Sure, hang on. You see it?
I see it. Cowboy Jack's 10...
Commandments of Songwriting.
What are they?
Oh, okay, I'll read them. I have to get over here, so hang on.
There she goes. She goes.
Remember, experts are often wrong. Experts don't buy records. Experts tend to be narrow-minded and overly opinionated. A good song gets better with age. Reveal some of yourself, most of your songs. Don't get stuck on one song too long. Work on other songs as you go. Learn to grow from setbacks, delays, and getting your feelings hurt. Write the worst song you can think of. Write the best song you can think of. So
now, do we bring customer service to a whole new level here on the show that's all about the South? Yes, we do. We are y'all, and Precious, I really appreciate you hopping up out of the chair and sharing those 10 commandments.
I've been sitting here for a while, so I'm good.
Yeah, and what a nice, beautiful, clean, organized office you have there.
Well, it's getting that way. I still got some more, but yeah, work to do. But Cowboy, he actually, when I saw him at it was a birthday party for Roger Cook, who wrote "I Like to Teach the World to Sing" and One Night at a Time for George Strait. He also wrote the massive global hit for the Hollies called "Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress," and his daughter, of course, is Katie Cook. But we were at his birthday party, and I went over to Cowboy, and I said, I was watching a documentary, and I didn't know that you're the one who pushed the button that recorded the $1 Million Quartet. I said, can I give you a hug? He said, sure. So I gave him a hug, and then he goes, I pushed the button, and I gave him another hug, and he said, I pushed the button, and I gave him another hug, and he's got, I said, you're being a boy. And he goes, yeah, can I have one more hug? I said, no, you can have a last hug. But I thought that was sort of cute. He kept saying, I pushed the button so I would hug him. But anyway, I thought that was a cute little story.
Precious, let's move on from talking about the killer to let's talk a little country music and arguably the guy that's been killing it. He may not be the killer, but he's been killing it in country music for 30 years now. We're talking about Troy Garth Brooks, and his daughter is trying to kill it. And I know you've got some info on her. First of all, how's she doing? She was recently diagnosed with the coronavirus. Give me a little bit more info on what's going on with Garth's oldest daughter.
Yeah, Allie. Her name is Allie Colleen, and she was going by Allie Brooks, but she has since changed her name because she is very adamant about I don't want to be compared to my father, and I totally get that. And she shouldn't be because he supports her very quietly. I saw him and Trisha Hyde one evening up on the second floor, Third and Lindsay, when she was in a writer's round with my little cousin. Mm-hmm. But she is actually number 10 on the CDX charts right now with her song that she's written and performed. And she has had 4 singles, I think, to radio in the last little bit. But, she credits her dad to being an influence on her to become a musician and a songwriter and an artist. But she really can stand on her own 2 feet. She's not country. She reminds me of almost like a 1970s folk singer songwriter because she really has got that soulful. She really connects with her soul as a songwriter. Just some of her music, you could just tell it's very heartfelt where it came from. So, of course, Garth is too, but Garth's very much a marketing artist thing. Like I said, he's worked his butt off to happen it. But for her to be so young, she really has zoned in on who she is as a writer and an artist. And sometimes it's really hard when you got someone that's globally as huge as that being your father. So,
yeah.
But check out CDX chart. I think she's number 10. And the reason why I know she's number 10 is because my kid is right behind her with a song behind her. So I thought that was pretty funny. So anyway, but yeah, right. I'm watching them climb the charts together.
Preshias Harris, the big question is, if Allie Colleen ain't country, then what the heck is she?
Well, she's Americana country.
Okay. That means, if she's not country, what's she doing on the country music CDX chart?
Well, because her song is country. This is country. But she's more of like a Joan Baez. She's like a country Joan Baez or a country John Denver. She crosses the genres in her writing. I mean, she's country and comes out as country, and her singles are promoted as country. Mm. But I just see her, maybe just because I'm very in tune with songwriters, and I'm very close to them. But I see a side of her that you've got a consumer side, and then you've got people that are watching her shows and following her for different things. But just watching her, some of her writing sessions, and because she has written with a couple of my clients, that I see her as just very much a soulful, and she is country but I also see a side of her that I can see her growing until a crossing genre artist because of her songwriting skills.
All right, that's Allie Colleen. Let's move on to another lovely female that has a Garth Brooks connection. This lady at one time sold T-shirts for an up-and-coming artist known as Garth Brooks. Her husband was his tour manager. We're talking Martina McBride. And Precious, Martina McBride news, she hasn't exactly been tearing it up on the tour schedule here lately. Nobody is, frankly, right now, but she is gearing up for next year. And it's just come out that she's going to be playing with Alabama at Bridgestone Arena, but it's going to be in the middle of next summer. What do you know about this concert at Bridgestone with Randy and Teddy and Martina McBride?
Well, because of the COVID, they had actually scheduled a 50th anniversary tour. And when they retired back in 2009, I think, somewhere in there, it had been very long. But we had the huge flood, I think in 2010, and they actually had to come out of retirement because they had something called Bama Rising. And it was all the different artists, because it's when Tuscaloosa got tore up, when they had that really bad tornado in 2011, that F5. I think there was like 7 F5s to hit the state. And basically everywhere it touched down, there's nothing left. So they actually had come out of retirement to help the state of Alabama, and they just kept getting booked and booked and booked. And so they ended up getting back together in an unforeseen circumstance for the Bama Rising tour. But they've decided to go ahead, and since it's been 50 years, which I can't believe it's been 50 years, but I guess it has since they formed. Because I remember Feels So Right coming out in 1979, and Janie Freaky was opening for them at Western Kentucky University at Dill Arena. But anyway, but they are doing a 50th anniversary tour at Bridgestone, and Martina McBride is the one that's been tapped on the shoulder to be their tour mate, which I thought was pretty cool. Doesn't she look good?
Y'all both look good. I mean, I'm the luckiest guy in the world to sit here and look at both of you.
Well, Martina always, ever since I've known her, is taking care of herself, and she's just very, very in tune with, looking the best she can, the healthiest she can. So I'm so glad that she's, not disappointed because I just love her music, and she's got the best personality. She's just sweet as she can be. She's got 3 girls. I think one of her girls might be also doing working to getting into music. I'm pretty sure. One of Travis Tritt's girls is getting into music. Alan Jackson's daughters is Tim McGraw's daughter. So you've got that one kid out of the group of 3 siblings that has fallen in the footsteps of it. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm hoping that I know that she's on other tour dates, but I'm hoping to score some tickets for the one in Nashville because I love her and I love Alabama. So yes. 1972 is when they started.
Many of us are in love with Martina McBride. Now, Preshias, you're from the Bluegrass State, and Martina McBride is from the Sunflower State. So our trivia question, Preshias, what state is the Sunflower State? And don't cheat.
Nebraska.
You're close, but not close enough.
Now tell me.
The Sunflower State is the state of Kansas.
Yes, I remember that.
That's Martina McBride's
the Buckeye States, Ohio, Sunshine's Florida, the Peach States, Georgia. Like I said, I know about 12 or 13 of the states, but I knew it was right there in that area. But yeah. I guess Nebraska, if you look between Nebraska and Kansas, Nebraska would be the corn state.
That's a good point. That is a good point. And you may not realize this, or if you do, you try to hide from it since you're a big Wildcat fan, but you do know the nickname of the state that you call home now, Tennessee.
Yes, the volunteer state.
Hopefully that doesn't get you too upset.
Yes, believe me, I feel it every day of my life. I volunteer for something I shouldn't have been volunteering for.
And we love you for it. Talking to Preshias Harris here. Hey, let's talk about a guy who came to Tennessee just like you came to Tennessee. I came to Tennessee when I was a little bitty baby. Really, I was in my 20s. And that's Randy Travis, as he went to Nashville, worked at the Nashville Palace and more. And Preshias, he actually has a song that's out right now. It's a recording from many, many years ago. But I want you to talk about Fool's Love Affair, and is it getting any traction at country music radio right now?
It actually is, because like I said, he hadn't had, because of the stroke, he had went on tour with, and I can see the guy's name, to help him do some singing and stuff. But then, of course, the COVID hit and everything went downhill. And, but Randy is, once you're an artist, you always have that need inside of you that it's just something you can't shake. Once you're an artist, it's like a passion that's built, like it's a part of your soul. You have to do it. So, and he has come health-wise enough far along now that he can actually put a single out. I don't know if they're going to get to tour on it like normal people do because of the COVID and pandemic, but I'm hoping that he will be able to at least get out and do some dates like they had planned on doing before that with that. But I know that it's hit the charts. It hit the CDX charts last week or week before last. So it has already charted. So I'm hoping I get to watch it go up the charts to number 1, because it would definitely be a miracle. If you look at everything that's happened since he had a stroke in 2013, it would be really good to see him on the top of the charts, because I got to meet him when he was come to Guntown Mountain, Kentucky at Cave City.
Never heard of it.
I know. It's like you go right up through Mammoth Cave and there's Cave City. But he did a show and I got to meet him, and I got a picture of him But I'll never forget it when he first came out and he started singing. I thought, that voice sounds familiar. But my mother would make me come to Nashville, bring me to Nashville, go to the Bullpen Lounge and hear singers, go to the Nashville Palace and hear singers. So I sort of fell in love with the live music scene before I ever got down here permanently. I was like 16 or 17, then I came permanently when I was 21. But I remember sitting, they go, hey, Mr. Trey, come on out of the kitchen and come up here and sing for us on stage. And he started singing. He was, and the worst part, I'm not going to tell you who was singing because they're still alive, but they would get him up on stage and he outshined them. And I'm like, oops, I would probably let the cook be singing anymore because he sounds way better than you. But I'm not going to tell you who it was. Anyway, but he gets on stage and my mom goes, see, I told you, don't ever judge a book by its cover. And she said, he's going to be famous. And unfortunately, my mother did live to see him have his first number one. But it was so good because I said, Randy Travis Trewick. I wonder if that's the same person. And sure enough, big story how they introduced him to the public is that, yeah, he came to Nashville to sing from North Carolina and that he got a job in the kitchen at Nashville Palace so he could be around country music entertainers. And that's how he got to singing on the stage. So I thought it was pretty cool.
And now we know the rest of the story. And Fool's Love Affair is this new song. It was a demo from many years ago. And let's just keep our fingers crossed this thing gets the attention it deserves. And hopefully it will become Randy Travis's latest #1 song. And I think Kyle Lenning had something to do with this song being discovered. Of course, for many, many years, he was Randy Travis's producer there at Warner Brothers Records. Kyle Lenning's a guy that I really haven't heard his name mentioned in quite some time. His real fame came from leading Randy Travis's production work, and then I think he was the head of Asylum Records for a while. What's been going on with Kyle Lenning, producer Kyle Lenning?
Well, Kyle's actually been retired for a while. Because when I met Kyle, he was like 15 years older than me, 20. He was already into that era when I met him years ago. So if I'm 58 and he's 15 years older than me, that puts
you said it. I didn't tell you to reveal your age.
I know. But if you think about it, that puts him right at 64 retirement age. So, and like I said, but sometimes during the pandemic, you're seeing things happen that we never get. People come out of retirement. People are finding a new way to communicate. Fans are finding a new way to get music. Artists are finding new ways to get it to them. Songwriters are finding new ways to write. So I'm very excited about the new ways that's come out to keep music playing. Because I always say, and I'm doing everything I can, is what I told Bart Harbison from NSAI, called I want to keep music in Music City, And I put together something for NSAI, and they're going to be using it on their website. It's the 12-pack of how to act at a writer's night and not screw up and become the best person you can while you're doing live music, because you never know who's in that room. One of my kids was playing down at the Commodore, Justin Dukes, and this guy walked up and said, I love that, the Mama song, can I have it? And Justin Dukes goes, you're John Barry. He goes, yeah, but I still like to have that song. He didn't get to cut it, but it was pretty cool. And he said, now I know what you mean about making sure that we look good, our nails are done. You do songs that you think would be commercial, only one ballad per songwriter's night, because most people do ballads because 50% or more of the songs written on Music Row are ballads. So that means that probably 70%, especially the new writers, because they can't pluck very good, and it's easier to pluck slow songs on your guitar than to do fast songs. So they always want to show they can play guitar and sing at writers' nights. So they always play the ballads to tempo songs. By the end of the night, it's like, so I always tell my kids, one ballad per night, period. So,
words of the wise from Preshias Harris. And hey, that's what you expect from the czar there on Music Row, Preshias Harris. Nashville Music Line is one way you can connect to her. And don't forget College of Songology with 366 daily country music questions that you can have a good time during this coronavirus and see if you can outdo someone with that trivia knowledge. Real quick, Precious, as we do wrap up our weekly conversation with you, let's talk about a couple of songwriters real quick. I know you're always talking about Ashley Gorley, also Cassidy Pope in the songwriting news. And how about that number one song there, Done, by Chris Janson? What do you have to say about that trio of country music knowledge?
I love Chris. I can't say a bad word about him, because like I said, I remember meeting him years ago when he had just finished gigging and had met his wife at the time, and had really, I mean, to keep food on the table, because he was living in his car. Chris did when he first moved here, but he had gone to play at Tootsie's. He was playing harmonica, guitar, and he's quite an entertainer. So he cut his teeth on playing at Tootsie's, which you get all walks of life there. So he had to be really, really good. So he was people who were, starstruck because they were playing at Tootsie's, the people who were there just to see what Tootsie's was about. But no, I think, like I said, Chris is, I saw the pictures on his Instagram. Him and his wife was on the beach. They were doing a photo shoot. I thought that was really, really sweet. But yeah, Chris has co-written every song he's had on the charts, And of course, Tim Dubois, you remember Tim.
Oh, yeah.
His son, Chris Dubois, is the one who actually wrote Buy Me a Boat with Chris. So, it's all about, of course, Tim Dubois wrote a huge hit for Alabama called Love in the First Degree.
Hey, I've heard of that one. This latest number one for Chris Janson, Done, is the second single from his third studio album called Real Friends. So kudos to Chris Janson. Also, Cassidy Pope. She's a singer-songwriter. Her new album, Rise and Shine, is created during the coronavirus pandemic, and she was the first female winner of The Voice back in 2012. You can check out her music there, as this is a new record, Rise and Shine, a collection of songs that talk about where she's been and where she's headed. And also, we don't want to leave out the fact that Ashley Gorley continues an impressive run with his 50th number one song at country radio. Precious, I see the big smile on your face.
What can I say? I think it's for Low Cash, right?
One big country song, Low Cash.
Low Cash, yeah, 50. And, I've been, and if you get a chance, go to NashvilleMusicLine.com and you'll see the full story. Because I've been watching Ashley since I was made aware that he was from Kentucky, just because of the Kentucky connection. But his father and I, and his mom and dad, there was no place for them to sit. So I ended up asking somebody to move. So Ashley's parents could sit when Luke had 7 number ones, had a huge party at the Country Music Hall of Fame there. And so I let his dad and his son sit with us. His mama at the time was going through some chemo. And he has since, like I said, his mother has passed away. But just watching Ashley grow up, I'm so glad his mother got to see the success he's had while she was here. But yeah, 50 for Mr. Ashley. Now, my next project is to reach out to the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame and try to get him in there as like the National Songwriters Hall of Fame has an artist induction and an artist-songwriter induction, and then, of course, the songwriters induction. So I'm praying that we can get him in there as a songwriter in the Hall of Fame, because they got producers. They've got, Lionel Harris, who was a gospel singer. They had anything to do. They got the guy that was actually discovered. Oh my gosh. Anyway.
Come on, Precious.
Oh my gosh. I see him, but I didn't recognize him when he had his beard. He had a really old beard not too long. I'm not going to say it now because I just said that. But
William Lee Golden?
No. He was if I was to say his name, you know him because he used to have an office near your studio where Dave Gibson did. He was like Nora Wilson. That's him.
I knew it would come to you.
Yeah, a songwriter, and then he's in the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame, but I don't know if he's in there as a music executive because he was quite the one who guided the careers of some major superstars in the 80s and 90s. So I'll have to check that out, but he's inducted. So I don't know why we can't have Ashley. And the biggest reason is nobody else in the entire world, including the Beatles and the people in the Brill Building, ever had as many number ones as Ashley's got as a songwriter. And if you hear that beep, 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 beep in the background, That's a drill next door. They're
Ah,
putting new panels for the studio. My friends
I thought it
underneath.
might be a news alert. And you need to go over there to the machine and rip it off that Ashley Gorley's got his 51st number one song. What a career that he's got going on. And hey, if you know Ashley, tell him that we'd like to have him appear on the Y'all Show, and we'll have a good time feting him on the show that's all about the South. Also, speaking of y'all, we want y'all to go to y'all.com, the ultimate guide to the South. And if you go there, you'll see this report that Precious does posted right there. You can read more about the country music news and information. And we've got some news that we'll include there on Luke Bryan. So you'll want to make sure you log on to y'all.com and check that out. And while you're there at y'all.com, you'll see the option to sign up for the brand new y'all.com email. You can get an email newsletter weekly, and we want you to join that movement and get that right there in your inbox, totally free of charge, the y'all.com email, right, with all the information like what's going on in country music delivered free of charge to you. All you got to do is sign up. So please do that. And Precious, please have a good rest of your week. And we look forward to catching back with you next week, where Ashley Gorley might have his 52nd number one by the time we get together again.
If he does, you know you're going to hear about it from me. It's probably
I
going to be
know.
my story.
I know. I'm wondering if you and Ashley have some kind of arrangement where you're getting a cut of those number one songs, because you sure have been promoting the heck out of Ashley Gorley.
Well, if I did, I would give it back to him anyway, because that's what I do.
Yes,
But
you
good to
do.
see you, darling.
And good to see you, Preshias Harris, everybody. And that will wrap up our conversation with our maven on Music Row. More of the Y'all Show will continue right after this.